8 straight L's in a row the Jaguars have taken against the Chiefs. The Jaguars defense has been by far the biggest surprise of the season. 3-4 takeaways per game. That's not going to be sustainable, especially going against the Kansas City Chiefs quarterback. If you had told me the Jaguars would be 3-1 through 4 games, I would have been like, man, Trevor Lawrence must be balling out. But to be quite frank, he really isn't. For the Jaguars to win this game, I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have to take over. That's going to be the real test. The thing that probably worries me most about the Jaguars are a couple things. One,
so UCF Jaguar covers his team almost every single day, just like I do here on this channel about the Chiefs. And in today's video, we have an awesome conversation processing through the good and the bad and the strengths and weaknesses of each of these teams as they get ready for Monday Night Football. So let's get into it. But first, how about those? All right, Dalton, we have the 3-1 Jags at home, and the Chiefs are traveling to Jacksonville for Monday Night Football. And there's supposed to be a little bit of weather, thunderstorms. I'm not really sure exactly how it's all going to pan out, but that might affect some of the stat lines and stuff like that heading into the game. Ball security will be very important, and your team has been very good at takeaways on defense. Let's start there. How are you feeling about the Jags defense so far? And also with the context in mind of, I'm not being disrespectful by any means, but just some of the teams that you've played, looking at like the Panthers, and then you've had a backup quarterback in Jake Browning. They're very good on defense, better than the Ravens defense that the Chiefs played last week. But what's kind of your view and your grid of how they are doing, just given the teams that they've played so far and how you feel they could look against the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah, the Jaguars defense has been by far the biggest surprise of the season, because last year the defense just flat out wasn't good at all. And a lot of that really is attributed to former defense coordinator Ryan Nielsen, who just didn't know how to call a defense. I mean, first of all, from a personnel standpoint, he made a bunch of guys put on 15, 20 pounds of weight. I mean, you had Josh Hines-Allen coming off of a 17.5 sack year, and you're going to have him put on 15 more pounds. Whatever he's doing to get to that weight, to get to that sack number, yeah, I'm keeping that regimen in place. So you take that away, and then you also bring in an expert defensive coordinator, and what we've seen out of Anthony Campanelli, and just that delta between those guys has just made the Jaguars defense play really insane. And of course, 3-4 takeaways per game, that's not going to be sustainable, especially going against the Kansas City Chiefs quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. But one good thing going for the Jaguars, it's not only coming off of interceptions, but they've kind of mastered the art of Patrick Peanut punching the ball out of there. It's impressive, and all kinds of different guys are doing it, whether it's Foye Oluokun or Dennis Gardeck or safety Andrew Wingard. I mean, a bunch of different players are really learning to pop the ball out. So we always have that in our arsenal. But yeah, the Jaguars defense has been something that's extremely surprising, because I thought, if you had told me, because it's kind of crazy to do this intro and say the 3-1 Jaguars, if you had told me the Jaguars would be 3-1 through 4 games, I would have been like, man, Trevor Lawrence must be balling out. But to be quite frank, he really isn't. It's everything around him that's doing great. The Jaguars defense, with all the takeaways, and also the Jaguars run game, number 3 run game in the NFL. That's been, a lot of surprising stuff. But the real test is this Monday night. Can the Jaguars defeat the Kansas City Chiefs this upcoming Monday night in prime time? That's going to be the real test.
It's interesting when you look at the analysts and their predictions. It's almost split down the middle. I think it was like 4 or so that had the Jags winning by a few points, 1 score, and then a few people had the Chiefs winning by 1 score. I will say, when looking at your defense with the Chiefs, you're coming into a game or a season, through 4 weeks of the season, where you haven't turned the ball over a lot. That 1 interception from Mahomes, I mean, it was in the breadbasket of Travis Kelce, and he kind of bobbled it up against the Eagles. It turned into an INT that a few plays later, turned into a touchdown, and it was a huge swing in that game. But they've been pretty clean at protecting the ball. I will say, when I was watching your team back and looking up at the stats, digging into the analytics, Devin Lloyd, your linebacker, has been playing lights out. And then obviously, yes, we've already talked a little bit about Josh Hines-Allen. He is great too. Mahomes spoke about him Thursday during his presser and said you have to be aware of where Josh Hines-Allen is at all times, every single play. You also have a key guy along your line that's banged up as well. He had wrist surgery, and Trayvon Walker. How are you feeling about that with the injury? You think he plays even if he wears a club? And how you think that linebacker room and the D-line can kind of try to disrupt or get to Patrick Mahomes and stop the maybe high-powered offense that's back that put up 37 on a very banged-up Ravens defense.
Yeah, that's going to be the big one, really, is Trayvon Walker, because I think Trayvon Walker doesn't get maybe as much respect as he should get around the league, just because in that 2022 NFL draft, the Jaguars kind of shocked everybody and took Trayvon Walker over Aiden Hutchinson. And was that the right move? I don't really know. Obviously, Aiden Hutchinson is a great player itself, but if you take away that argument, I mean, he's a really good football player, and not having him on the field for most of the game against the 49ers, you really felt the difference in that pass rush. They're still able to get some pressure, but just not really able to get home as much as you'd like. But when I heard that it was a wrist issue, I was pretty relieved, because, if you hear that, something happened to their knee or their hamstring is hurt, then you're getting a little bit more worried about it. But with a wrist, he had the surgery this week, but now they're saying that there's a good chance that he might actually play on Sunday. And if there is a chance, I think he plays. I think, look, he's a Southern boy. He's from Georgia, played for the Georgia Bulldogs. He's a tough guy. I think he's out there, and I think he plays with a club. And, him with those big, long arms out there playing with a club, that's pretty dangerous against, our former right tackle, Jawan Taylor, which, by the way, it's kind of funny that Jawan Taylor went to the Chiefs, because I told everybody this might not have been a very good decision for him to go to the Chiefs, because nobody would know about those early fall starts had he still played with the Jaguars. But it's funny now the whole entire NFL kind of knows about that. But I think Trayvon Walker plays. We'll see about Anton Harrison. Anton Harrison left the game against the 49ers, but did wind up coming back in after a few drives. So the injury report, there are guys banged up, but to be honest with you, I don't believe the Jaguars will be missing too many players. I don't think De'Ami Brown plays a Jaguars wide receiver 3. But overall, I do think while it's maybe a crowded injury sheet, I do think that going into this game, you're going to see a bunch of these guys active.
That's how you want it. I want the best against the best, no matter what week it is, no matter primetime, Brazil. I don't care. I don't want excuses at the end of the day. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but just you want their best. It makes for the best product of football out there on the field. We all want to be entertained, and we all want to see a competitive game. I think for the Chiefs offense against a defense as good as the Jags, it's like, all right, play clean football. Can Juju and Kelsey come alive? Because you guys play a lot of zone. So can you take advantage of that at times? But the middle of the field scares me. So that's where it's like, okay, Worthy, Tyquan Thornton, deep ball. Can you unlock that? The Chiefs don't really have a run game. I mean, they're going to try. But on the flip side, if we want to flip sides of the field, you guys have a really good run game. I mean, ETN is averaging almost 100 yards a game through 4 weeks. And the Chiefs defense, a lot of people are pointing this out. The Chiefs defense in most metrics, they are bottom 5 in the NFL. DVOA, EPA per rush allowed, all this stuff. They are not doing well against the run. I think it is slightly inflated because in the Giants game, their whole game plan was take away the moon ball from Russell Wilson and then let them just check it down or run and force errors and mistakes. And that did happen, and you ended up winning pretty handedly, not as much as the game against the Ravens. And then during the Ravens game, they gave up a 70-something yard run, and it was all backups in, or several backups in for the Chiefs, 2 backup linebackers, backup D-line. So I think that does dock them a little bit, but you guys are very good, very efficient off the run. That's been a little of the pleasant surprise, I think, when I looked at your team. I mean, not a pleasant surprise for this week, but maybe for you, that they're really getting that run game going. Tight ends heavily involved, one of the best run blocking group of tight ends in the NFL. How are you feeling about the offense and how they are playing? Although I will say, like, Trevor Lawrence, I feel like he needs to have a really good game in this one, because he's had some plays where it's like, dude, even against the 49ers, almost had a couple picks. He did break his streak of like 6 or 7 games straight of throwing an INT. But how are you feeling about the Jags offense heading into this game against Spags and that defense? It's the number 2 scoring defense over the last 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah, the Jaguars, I feel good about most parts of the offense, right? I mean, the offensive line is much improved from last year, even though it is a bunch of the same players. And I think what has really unlocked the Jaguars run game is that last year when the Jaguars ran, I mean, they were 32nd in motions, right? So, you'd line up Trevor Lawrence under center, you got 2 tight ends in there, you're going to run the ball, right? And they just weren't getting much push down there. Now when the Jaguars run the ball, we have a guy running in motion that way. We have different things being set up that way that's making the linebackers go over there, then that's what they're punching the holes in through. And they're even, some of these swing passes as well that The Jaguars are really just trying to occupy really everywhere on the field. And that's what makes this offense really hard to defend. So right now, the offensive line is playing good. Obviously, when you have the third ranked rush attack in the NFL, your offensive line is pushing people, right? You're not going to have an amazing running back. Like you can have amazing running backs, but they're not going to do much if you not pushing players downfield, right? You also look at the sack numbers, only 3 sacks allowed this year. So offensive line playing great. Running game, I mean, I don't know where I thought this Travis Etienne was trapped in 2022, but he's back and it's great to see. I mean, he's finally finding holes. He's got speed. He's making cuts in the field and getting upfield. He's been very, very impressive. The thing that probably worries me most about the Jaguars are a couple things. One,
hey, before we get to the rest of his answer, if you are enjoying UCF Jaguars content, make sure to give him a sub on YouTube or at least check out his videos this week as the Chiefs get ready to take on his team. He's giving you a lot of good insight as he covers them almost every single day, just like I do. So give him a sub, and link to that is in the description and pinned comment below.
First of all, just lining up. The Jaguars are still learning this offense. Liam Cohen, he's a piece of the Sean McVay tree, and this offense is a difficult offense to learn, right? There's a bunch of players moving around. You see very oftentimes like 2 wide receivers will go in motion. We get an illegal shift. We have a real big issue with illegal shifts this year. And last game, they were breaking the huddle with like 8 seconds left and getting up and having either call timeouts or delays a game. It's really sloppy right now, the offensive setup. So that's one thing. And also the passing attack. It is to be said that the Jaguars were dropping a lot of balls through the first 3 games of the season. It got better against the 49ers, but there were moments where it's like the pass game is never smooth. Like either Trevor Lawrence isn't hitting his passes or he hits them and the wide receivers just drop them. So it's clunky right now. And that's what worries me a lot. So I got to ask you, because I think that if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, you have to play the Jaguars the same way as the Texans. The Texans took away the Jaguars run game. They took away the short pass game. And they basically said, hey, Trevor, you got to throw it downfield on us. And if the Texans didn't have such a bad offense, the Jaguars would not have won that game. So with the Texans or with the Chiefs, if their game plan is to try to do the same thing and stop the run and the short pass game, do you guys have the personnel to be able to do that? Or is that something that maybe worries you a little bit, that they're going to try to stop the run and they're just not going to be able to?
Yeah, I feel like even though most of these metrics of the Chiefs defense not being able to stop the run, I feel like when they do need to, whether it's Saquon, Derrick Henry, and this is going back to even like last year, I feel like they can, especially with Nick Bolton. That's his strength too, is being able to help stop that run. So I'm not ultra concerned if they can limit the explosives, because Etienne is tied for first, I think, in the NFL with 6 runs of 15 or more yards. I only know that because the entire Chiefs running back room has 0. So it's kind of the opposite of Chiefs have no explosions in the run game, but the Jags, you guys are finding plenty of it. So I think if you can limit that, yeah, it's going to maybe be won or lost on the shoulders or the arm of Trevor Lawrence. And he's a good quarterback. I don't know that he's lived up to his exact hype, even since getting his extension, but he's still a quarterback that if he can click in and lock in, and you've got home field advantage, so the crowd's not going to be going insane when they're on offense. If he can click in, lock in, make a few throws deep down the field, that's where things, to me, is going to get very interesting, because he's got some weapons. I like Brian Thomas Jr. a lot. Travis Hunter, he's been playing a little bit on both sides of the field. He's still being integrated as a rookie. But yeah, I think you guys have the ability to take some shots. Your actual question was, do I think the Chiefs have people in the secondary that can do it? Yeah, they don't have Christian Fulton, who they brought in on a 2-year, $20 million deal in the offseason. He's probably not going to play, dealing with an ankle. But Noel Williams, their 3rd-round rookie, he's one of the highest-graded corners in the NFL. Small sample size, but he's really lived up to the early hype on some limited packages when they bring him in. You got Jalen Watson, Trent McDuffie is a top corner in the NFL. I think the answer is yes, they can. I also saw an interesting stat that Trevor Lawrence does struggle a bit more under pressure. So it's sell out to stop the run, but can you also trick Lawrence pre-snap, which will be a little bit harder because what you said, they run so much pre-snap motion. I think you're top 3 in the NFL in pre-snap motion. So can you get to Trevor? Can you rattle him a little bit, force him to take some shots down the field, and try to take advantage of that interception streak that has been broken? It's just for you guys too on defense. these takeaways, whoever wins the turnover battle, that's really going to help decide the momentum in this football game.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's the thing that is so surprising. I mean, 3 turnovers through the first 3 games, we're all like, okay, this can't, keep happening. And then all of a sudden you get 4 turnovers against the San Francisco 49ers. So it really is crazy the kind of stuff that the Jaguars are doing defensively when it comes to that. And yeah, Trevor Lawrence, it's just disappointing with him because he'll put together like a really good quarter or two. You rewatch the 49ers game, that first half, I'm like, dude, Trevor Lawrence is balling. And then he just disappears for one reason or another. And it's just a shame because sometimes where things start going wrong with the offense, it's like Trevor Lawrence doesn't really do a great job of like overcoming that, right? But also, when you talk about a football player, there's 10 other players on the football field besides them, so you can make all kinds of excuses, and there are excuses for him and everything. But we're just hoping to see that breakout game soon, the game where he throws 300 plus passing yards, got the 3 touchdowns, maybe 0 interceptions, maybe 1 interception at that. But we want to see him just take over, and that's what I'm thinking. For the Jaguars to win this game, I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have to take over. I really do, because you're not going to get all the same turnovers. Steve Spagnuolo is a great defense coordinator. I think he is going to at least do his best to take away that run game and say, all right, Trevor, throw on us. And then it's going to be up to Trevor. It's going to be up to Brian Thomas Jr. to catch the ball up, because obviously he's been a little bit disappointing. And by a little bit, I mean very disappointing. Travis Hunter still kind of getting integrated, but he's had some special. I mean, he's had like 2 receptions in the last 2 games, but each of those catches were just incredible. So he's still learning this offense, and he's playing defense. They're kind of playing them differently, where it's like, okay, if the other team's strength is offense, we're going to play them on defense. So the other team's strength is defense, we're going to play them on offense. There's a lot of people that are saying, oh, is this because you see these ESPN guys, they want the quick hitters. They want to judge these guys after 3 games and call them a bust. He's been really, really good at cornerback, and I know everyone probably maybe overdrafted them in fantasy. He hasn't been used that much in the Jags passing game, but he's been a willing blocker. He's got great energy, and the sky's the limit for him, and there's still so much season left to play. And the Jaguars are sitting at 3-1, so it's not like we've really need to use his efforts. So I want to ask you this, because I know preseason, when you go through the Chiefs 17-game schedule, you look at the Jaguars win and then you move on. Now that the Jaguars are 3-1, how are Chiefs fans actually feeling about this game? Is it like, are the Jaguars a fraudulent 3-1 in your eyes, or is there actually being a little bit of respect putting on the Jags name?
I think you have to pay respect. I mentioned in a video earlier this week just the teams that you guys have played, and so I said, hey, that might give me a little bit of pause for concern on like some of these metrics where you're like top 3. And I think this will be a really good litmus test for you guys to go up against a Chiefs offense that started to find its footing, starting to find some momentum. I have a healthy respect for pretty much every team that the Chiefs are going to play, because it's any given Sunday. We watched the Browns beat the Packers a couple weeks ago. Like, literally anything can happen on any given Sunday if you don't execute. And that's where I think if the Chiefs want to find a good amount of success in this game, which has been an issue, they have been slow starters on offense. I need to see them put points up on the board early, because if you can force the Jags to try to have to press and be a little bit more one-dimensional on offense, meaning they can't rely as heavily on the run game because they're down by 7-10 points, and they've got to force Trevor Lawrence to not rely. I don't know how much play action you guys are doing, but the Chiefs can struggle against that. The Chargers kind of exploited them a little bit week 1, and Justin Herbert was having the game of his life. But if it's close, the Chiefs aren't going to know run or pass. That you could operate play action off of that, and your tight ends have been feasting. I think that's your leading pass catcher as a tight end. So there are some aspects about this team that I definitely respect. They look better this year compared to last, and this is a better defense regardless of who you guys have played. This is for sure a better defense right now than the Ravens last week, and they had so many injuries as well. I don't expect the Chiefs to hang 37. I don't expect the Chiefs to hang 40 on your team. I think it's going to be a little closer than we think, but if the Chiefs can pull away early, Spags can get into his bag a little bit, knowing that it's going to be a little bit more pass heavy from that Jags offense. I think that's where the Chiefs can find some success in this one.
There's obviously a very, very healthy amount of respect from Jaguars fans at Chiefs, because not only, I mean, look at you guys, 4 out of the last 5 years represented the AFC in the Super Bowl, and right now, I don't know if you guys know about this, but there is a very, very ugly losing streak that the Jaguars have against the Chiefs right now. I mean, 8 straight L's in a row the Jaguars have taken against the Chiefs. I think that's the 3rd or 4th longest active streak in the NFL right now. Haven't beat the Chiefs since 2009, and it's been kind of a house of horrors. And, I still get that last time the Jaguars were in the playoffs in 2022, just Jamal Agnew just fumbling out of nowhere, not then unforced error. Then it gave the Chiefs the ball back, and then you guys sat on it and won the game. So, and also Chad Henne drove down the field on us in that game, former Jaguar. So, yeah, the Chiefs obviously a very healthy amount of respect. I know the Jaguars protected this game. This is a huge measuring stick for us. Like, if the Jaguars can somehow beat the Chiefs at home at Monday Night Football, I mean, they're beating a legit team. I don't care what the Chiefs' record is. I think the regular season is just a formality for the Chiefs. They'll get into the playoffs. They'll make noise one way or another, whether they're the 1 seed or whether they're the 7 seed, right? They're going to be very dangerous no matter what seeding they are, and they're going to really do some damage there. So, but if the Jaguars can somehow win this game and move on to 4-1 after defeating the Kansas City Chiefs, I mean, I'm going to have to start looking into Super Bowl tickets. No, but on the real though, it's going to be a great test for the Jaguars in this one, and it's unfamiliar territory for us. I don't really know how to handle being 3-1 because the Jaguars historically have just been so bad. But right now, we're just kind of happy to be here and happy to be looking at 3-1 instead of taking a peek at Tankathon and seeing how high our draft pick is next year.
Yeah, and the streak thing, it's whatever to me now because it's different coaching staff, different team, different year. I remember the Chiefs had like, I don't even remember, something ridiculous, 13. It was a lot of wins in a row against the Denver Broncos, and the Chiefs came out flat one game, and the Broncos took advantage of that and ended up winning that game. And every streak can be broken. In a perfect world, that does not, because the Chiefs have the Lions next week, and they still don't have Rashee Rice. He returns week 7. So in a perfect world, the Chiefs can at least be 500 or maybe have a winning record with Rashee Rice coming back, because you dropped Worthy early in the season due to injury, and he came back last week, but you were really struggling out there, starting out 0-2. You've clawed back to 2-2. So 3-2 would be a little bit better through 5 weeks of the NFL season. But yeah, both teams are going to really want to win. I think the Chiefs need this one. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes. I'm assuming you have the Jags winning this game once push comes to shove.
Yeah, I mean, I might be just there's a lot of teal around me, right? There's a lot of Jaguars logos. I'm just a little bit biased, okay? I mean, we're 3-1. Sometimes I pick with my heart. If we're looking really good, I'll pick the Jaguars to win. If we're 1-7, let's lose for that draft pick, baby. They got to prove it to me. But yeah, I'll have the Jaguars winning. I'll say like 27-24. I'm manifesting it. I'm hoping it comes true because I mean the Jaguars. This is our only primetime game, unless you count 9:30 a.m. London as a primetime game. The Jaguars get like one of these per year, and this comes at a really good time, right? It might be a little bit rainy because you're catching us kind of in a moment where, Florida during September and October, we kind of have hurricanes. It's kind of off the Atlantic coast right now, but we're going to get probably a little bit of the outskirts from it. But I'm going to be picking the Jaguars to win. I'm sure you're going to be picking the Chiefs, but, I'll let you take the floor on that one.
Yeah, I'm kind of where you are probably, but the inverse. I think it could be pretty close. I think the Chiefs are going to find a way to get it done. But again, in order for that to happen, I think you got to play a clean game. If you had 3-4 turnovers like all these other teams against the Jags, you're probably not winning this game. Harrison Butker has missed, I think, 5 kicks or close to in 4 games. So you've got to be making your field goals. This is the highest paid kicker, 4th most accurate guy in NFL history. That's a little bit of a concern. So yeah, you got to come out, you got to execute, play clean, and in a perfect world, as I said earlier, get up early. If they can do those things, I do think the Chiefs pull away with this one, but I would not be surprised at all if it's a 1-score game. I'm probably somewhere around like 27-21 Chiefs or 27-24 Chiefs in a close one down to the wire.
How about those Chiefs?